Good morning, class. So today is the last day of new material pretty much. We are going to have a couple more days where we review and another day where we talk about number of solutions. But today we're starting solving systems by substitution. That's the last category of new things that we're going to be learning. So to review, a solution makes both equations true. So it's going to be an x and y pair that both equations share. Now, for graphing, if you remember, it's where the two lines intersect. It's where the two lines meet. And so that x and y coordinate is the solution. But we can also find it without graphing them by using elimination. That's where you add or subtract the two lines going down. You add up, you basically combine like terms of your x's and your y's and then your variable and then of your constant. And one of the variables is going to be eliminated. Well, from there, what did you do? Once one of the variables was eliminated, you solved for x and then or y, and then you plugged that number in for your x or your y. And that is actually substitution. That's what we're going to talk about today. Except it's not going to be nice and neat. It's not going to be in standard form for us to easily eliminate like that. So let's look at an example. So I have 3y minus 2x equals 7. That's one equation of our system. And then 5x equals 20. That's another equation of our system. Now look, this one's actually pretty nice because one of them has an y and an x, and the other one only has an x of this system. I'm going to put these brackets that show that these two go together. So it makes sense to solve for x, and then I can substitute that in for this x. Now, you've done this before. Even earlier on in the year, we did something that was called evaluating mathematical expressions. And we did it with functions too, where we had a function and we plugged in not just a number, but maybe an expression into that function. So think of it like that. So the first thing we're going to do is take this 5x equals 12, and we're going to solve for x. We're going to get rid of that 5. How do we do that? I hope you said divide by 5, because that's it. Divide by 5, and you get x equals 4. Did you get that? Okay, now what do you think we're going to do? Pause and think about it. Okay, well, what we can do now is that x equals 4, we can plug that into the top equation. Now, why would we not top it? Why would we not plug it into this bottom equation? We could, but if we do, we're just going to have 20 equals 20. That doesn't help us. But if we plug that x equals 4 into this top equation, we get rid of the x as a variable, and we plug in its value, which is 4. And then we just end up with y. Y will be the only variable, so we can solve it. So let's do that. We're going to substitute the x in the top equation with 4. And so we have 3y minus 2 times 4 equals 7, just like that. Now what are we going to do? We're going to solve for y. What's 2 times 4? So how do I get rid of that? Well, what we do is we're going to add 8 to both sides. And that gets rid of this here. They cancel out. Okay. And 7 plus 8 is what? 15. So we end up with 3y equals 15. So what does y equal? If 3y equals 15, what's y? We divide both sides by 3, and we get y equals 5. So that's your ordered pair. 4 is your x, and then y is your 5. Now you might think, well, that seems pretty easy. And there are some that are easy like this, but there are others that are a little bit more complicated. So that's the basic idea. So let's review what we did. The first thing that we did, so go ahead and write this in your notes if you can. Pause the video, whatever you need to do. The first step that we did was we picked one of these equations to solve for the variable. Now it made sense in this time to solve for x and to use this bottom equation because there was only one variable. But sometimes they'll both have x and a y, and then you can just pick whichever one you want. So pick one of the equations and then solve for the variables. That's what we did. We solved for x. Then substitute the variable into the other equation. So once you've solved for the variable, substitute that in to the other equation. And then once you do that, you go ahead and solve for the variable that's remaining in the top equation, and if necessary, solve for the original variable as well. But this one, it was already solved. And then you get your number values for each of them, if possible, which at this level, for pre-algebra and algebra 1, you'll get number values. So they're not going to do anything mean like they would in pre-calc. All right, so here's another example. You notice this, they both have an x and a y. So we can pick either one of these. Yeah, I could solve for x on this bottom one, or I could solve for x or y on the top one. But the bottom one is already solved for y, so it makes sense to use that to our advantage. So that's what we're going to do. Let me clear out those. What we're going to do is we're going to take what y equals, x minus 1, and we're going to substitute it in for that y. But notice that y is being multiplied by a negative 3. Notice it's minus 3, so that means it's a negative 3. You're adding a negative 3. So we have 2x minus 3 what? What are we going to put here in place of y? We're going to put in what y equals, x minus 1. Okay. Now we're going to have to distribute that negative 3. So don't forget the distributive property. Negative 3 times x is negative 3x. Negative 3 times 1. Well, what's a negative times a negative? It's a positive, right? So that's going to give us 2x minus 3x plus 3, because you had that negative times a negative. And then the other side's going to remain the same. Now we combine like terms. We have a 2x minus 3x. And in that plus 3, we can move over to the other side and make it a minus 3. Same sign, keep and add, different signs, subtract. So we have different signs here, 2x and 3x are different signs. Keep the sign of the bigger number, then you'll be exact. The bigger number is 3. So we're subtracting 3. So our answer is going to be negative, right? Negative x. And then when we add 3 to both sides, we get negative 1 plus negative 3, which is negative 4. Okay? See that? We combined that and we got negative x. And we moved the 3 over there, and it turned into a negative. So it's negative 4. Okay, so negative x equals negative 4. What do we do? Just divide both sides by negative 1, if you want. And those cancel out. Negative over negative is positive, and negative over negative is positive. So you end up with positive 4. Once you get that positive 4, you can plug it back into here. What is 4 minus 1? It's 3. Or we could have plugged it in there too, either way. And that's how we get our two equations. So we have 4, x equals 4. We plug it in here. 4 minus 1 is 3. Okay, that's as easy as that. Now if I plug 4 and 3 into the top equation, it should also work, right? So we have 2. This is the way to test to see if you did it right. 2 times my x value minus 3 times my y value. So it'd be 3 times 3. That should equal negative 1. Let's see if it does. 2 times 4 is 8. And 3 times 3 is 9. Remember, order of operations, multiply before you subtract. 8 minus 9 is negative 1. We did it. That is correct. So that's how you can test to see if you have the right answer. Okay? So congratulations, guys. That's pretty much it. This is the last type of method that we're going to be learning. We'll talk about a little bit more tomorrow. And let's go ahead and look at your Khan Academy. So here's an example of a Khan Academy problem. I don't know if you can see it. It might be small for you. But minus 4x plus 11y equals 15. And x equals 2y. Well, obviously, we're going to use this bottom equation because it's already solved for us. We can just plug that x equals 2y into this equation up here. Let's do that. Let's plug in. So we have negative 4 We're going to substitute in that 2y is going to be our x. So it's negative 4 times 2y, then plus 11y equals 15. Whoa, they're not giving us nice numbers, are they? Okay, what's negative 4 times 2? That's negative 8. And, okay, so we have 11 minus 8. What's 11 minus 8? It's 3. So we have 3y equals 15 when we combine like terms. All right, now it's one step. We divide that 15 by 3. Hopefully you can do that in your head. And that is y equals 5. Okay, be careful at this point. We just solved for y because we substituted in the x. So the equation ended up only having y's. So make sure you put this answer here in the y and not in the x. All right, now that we have y equals 5, we can plug it into either equation. You know what? I would recommend plugging it into this one because it's a little bit easier. You can do it in your head, hopefully. So plug in 5 here. 2 times 5 is what? And that's your x value. 2 times 5 is 10. Okay, that's all you got to do for today. 4 problems. If you get them all wrong, or if you get half of them wrong, try it again. And make sure you look at the step-by-step solution if you want. Okay, bye. Have a great day.